Some of my earliest memories are from when I lived in Albany, Georgia in the mid-1950s. Back then, my father was employed full-time, and my mother worked part-time as a telephone operator. My grandmother lived in a town nearby, and she would often come to visit us. When she was there, she'd watch my baby sister and me while my parents were at work. When my grandmother wasn't there, and my parents were both working, an African-American woman would come to watch over us. I don't recall this woman's name, but I certainly wish I did. She was loving and took good care of my sister and me. She used to take us walking around the neighborhood. On this one occasion, we had walked to town, to what I believe was the bus depot. I can remember being in a throng of people, cheering a man who was talking to the crowd. The man was a tremendous orator, and his words were impassioned and powerful. I was just a kid, but even I knew he was special. He spoke like an old-time Baptist preacher, and the crowd was his congregation. I wasn't old enough to appreciate what he was saying, but I remember being aware of how he affected those around him. His words were powerful. They created a wave of energy that passed through the audience. That energy came to me and I felt it. I really did. Apparently, we had walked to the Trailways bus station to attend a rally. I remembered that at one point, my caretaker lifted me up high in her arms so that I could get a better view of the speaker. My baby sister was in her stroller. I was aware of the fact that I was the only white person in view. I'm surprised that I would have noticed that at such a young age, but this was a time of Jim Crow, and everything in Albany was segregated according to whether you were black or white. White drinking fountains, black drinking fountains, white restaurants, black restaurants, theaters, swimming pools, churches, schools, neighborhoods, buses, and even rallies. I've often thought about the man I saw speaking that day. I'd like to think that he was Reverend Martin Luther King, but I've no way of knowing if it was him or not. Dr. King played a role in Albany's history. Those who know about the Civil Rights Movement are aware of the so-called Albany Movement, when Dr. King came to Albany to help combat segregation and racial discrimination. But that was a few years after I saw the man at the bus station. Interestingly, at the same time I was listening to the man speaking in Albany, Dr. King had just launched the year-long Montgomery Bus Boycott, sparked by the arrest of Rosa Parks. I suspect it was Dr. King I heard that day. After all, Albany's just a little over 150 miles from Montgomery. I believe that the people of Albany were organizing to voice their opposition to segregation and to show their support for the boycott underway in Montgomery. I don't know what else this rally might have been. Perhaps it was this rally that helped inspire the Albany movement a few years later. Much of the energy of the Albany movement was directed towards the integration of the Trailways bus station. As it turned out, a determined opposition from the local white segregationists prevented the Albany movement from succeeding. The movement attracted national interest, though, and is considered to have been a key lesson in strategy and tactics for the American Civil Rights Movement. Dr. King became one of my heroes, and he remains a hero to me today. As a white kid growing up in the Deep South, I paid a price having him as my hero, but my price paled in comparison to the price he had to pay for his greatness. Great people inspire those around them and cause others to become more like them. There was a greatness about Dr. King that we are in desperate need of today. It's a kind of greatness that seems to be lacking from most of our so-called leaders, be they religious or political. But what Dr. King showed us is that it only takes one to create a movement, and in that way, there is a great power found in one. So, what about the man at the bus station? I wish I remembered more, but I was just 4.